social media, you
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
which is awful. Like
Yeah.
within the last couple of years, I've actually like unfollowed many yoga people.
Mm-hmm.
Not because I don't like them, you know, or whatever. It's just not where I'm at. And
Yeah.
I don't need that input of judgment. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not healthy for me.
No, no,
You
no.
know what I mean? Like
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't need to look at, you know, 19-year-old yoga teachers, you know, doing handstand. It's not good
Mm-hmm.
for me. And,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, because then I'm like, maybe I should be doing that still. And I'm like, no, I don't need to be doing that. Like
No.
that time for me has passed. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, especially now with all my injuries, like
Yeah.
it's my repertoire of practice is
Mm-hmm.
extremely limited.
Yeah.
And I have to learn to be okay with that.
Yeah.
I have to learn to be okay with, you know, my body is in a different place now,
Yeah.
and it's whether or not I could ever get that back is not the point. The
Mm.
point is I don't care anymore.
Well, and also you were just saying, like, you know, you've been teaching for 20 years, and I liked what you said last time as well. I even made I remember making a flyer with a quote of it that you said, like, my yoga is now more, you know, yoga of being of service, you know, like just being that person. And I think you really are. I mean, you share so many amazing, you know, you share your knowledge, and you have always such beautiful posts on Instagram. I mean, that's how as I always make the joke, started stalking you, because you know, it was always so inspiring. And even what you said about the body, I saw this amazing quote the other day where she said, like, hey, you know, our bodies are not pieces of art hanging up in a museum, you know, just to be critiqued or being looked at, you know what I mean? And I think that what you're saying is really, really, I mean, it just, you know, is so important. I feel the same way. It's like, because for me it's the same, but you know, like, why is this, like, it's just a body, you know, like what I do with it is way more important in a
Is what
way, you
matters.
know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. But it's still hard. I mean, I could tell myself that until I'm blue in the face and be like, it's not
Yeah.
your body, Vanessa, it's not your body. And I still wake
Yeah.
up and I'm like, God damn it, I can't put these pants on. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
whatever, you know, we do it to ourselves. So it's
Yeah. Yeah.
this constant conversation. It's like, you know, you're having this daily conversation with your inner, let's say 21-year-old. You know, it's not the inner child anymore. It's the inner, like, you know,
Yeah.
young, like,
Young version.
you know, it's all right, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And
Because has it,
it's a challenge every day. It's going to be a challenge until the day I die, probably, you know, because you
yeah.
go from, you know, you go from being very viewed
Mm-hmm.
to being invisible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
That's an interesting point, what you're just saying.
you know what I mean? Like, nobody looks at the old lady walking down the street. They look at the 21-year-old in the short skirt. You know what I mean? So, and
Yeah.
if you're used to being that 21-year-old, you know,
Yeah.
being looked at, and that's something that is important to you.
Mm-hmm.
As you age and as that begins to kind of fade away, it's a big thing for your mind to get over.
Because
And
do you feel invisible, Vanessa, when you, like, not just walking the streets, but is that what you feel? Because you're gorgeous, so I just wonder if that's
not
you know?
not
Mm-hmm.
yet, but it's coming. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's inevitable. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's inevitable. Just like you know, your body can't really sustain some insane like Dharma Mitra level of practice. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's like you could in theory, like he does, and you know, some older people really do. But is that is that what's important? Like
Exactly.
the amount of time and energy that I would need to devote to bending and twisting my body to get back to where I was a decade ago
Mm-hmm.
isn't worth it to me.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know
Yeah,
what I
there's
mean?
more to life than bending yourself into shapes, that's for sure. You know?
Yeah, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? I'm kind of like, I don't want to say getting a bad attitude about it or
No,
getting like
but
jaded about it, but I'm just like, you know, that's why I started unfollowing all these yoga people, because I'm
yeah.
just like, what else are you doing?
Yeah.
you know,
And
and I don't,
what are you offering to the world as well, you know?
what else are you doing? And
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to judge them because they're 99.9% of the time younger than me.
Yeah.
And at that age, I was doing the same thing. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they're in the beginning of that process. So it's not for
Yeah.
me to judge them for what they're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
So I just remove myself out of the situation so I don't.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, they're on their path. They're doing what they got to do. And, you
I
know,
just don't want it in my
God
feet.
willing, exactly. God
Yeah.
willing, when they get to be my age, they'll have a little bit more awareness, and
Yeah.
the asana will be a little less important.
Exactly. And the service will be more important.
And for now, you know, go with God or whatever you say, and like, you know, do what you got to do. But I don't need I don't need to feed myself with that every day.
Exactly.
It's not good for my head.
Exactly. And when you're saying, you know, which I think is really interesting, we just had an episode just now. My last episode was very much about me talking to another girl about eating disorders as well. And with you, what you're saying as well, like my whole life, my body was part of a very important part of my job. You know, it's like your body is part of your work. Did you also, did it make the relationship with your body harder?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I wasn't like, you know, some people are blessed with like athleticism and thinness, and like like, other than the good skin, like I was not blessed with like a figure that was just like naturally proportioned and fit and like all that stuff. It's been like my mom, I wish I could show it to you at this like right now, but because I'm on my phone, I can't. But I was at my mother's house maybe like a month ago, and she was pulling out like old pictures of you know, like that little black and white in the back is my grandmother on the beach. Like she was a model in Miami and like all this stuff. And, you know, there was some pictures of me at like 12, you know what I mean? Like, you know, youngish or whatever. And I was just like thick as hell, like just thick, you know? And I was just like, yep, there it was, like in the Doritos, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I was not an active kid. I had no interest in it. Like I wasn't introduced to athletics. Like it wasn't like, it just wasn't in my life. Like I didn't have a family that was active. You know what I mean? Like, so I was never introduced to any of that until like I was late high school, and then I went into college and I was on my own. And I'm like, this is not working for me. I need to like, I need to sort this shit out, you know? And I started doing Jane Fonda tapes with a closed door in my room to get in shape. And that's what like, I got into enough shape doing that, that it gave me enough confidence to go elsewhere, like actually to go to the gym, to actually go somewhere else, and start like exercising in public, basically. You know, but it's a constant battle with my weight, and like it's just, and I like to eat food. You know what I mean? I like to eat food, and I'm honestly very surprised that, you know, the life that I've led, or the life that I've experienced up until fairly recently would lend itself to, you know, eating disorders and drug abuse and all this other stuff. You know what I mean? And I never did any of that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like don't get me wrong. Like, yes, like have I emotionally binged eaten? Sure I have. But did I throw up after? No. You know what I mean? So, you know, have a lot of my friends, you know, when I was in my 20s, legit eating disorders, like legit, you know what I mean? And like use drugs to like help, you know, and all that stuff. And it was just like, I don't know if I just didn't have the willpower. I was just like, I can't do that. You know what I mean? Like I would rather, you know, be in the gym 2 hours a day than not eat what I want to eat. You know what I mean? So like now, you know, since like I said, like I'm just turning 50, like, you know, the balance is shifting. So I cannot energetically be in the gym 2 hours a day. I can't. Like
Mm-hmm.
it drains me. So there needs to be this kind of like, I need to back off of the food a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't have to work out so much, because the working out too much, like it's not good for me either. Like it
Mm-hmm.
drains the life out of me, and then I don't have any energy for anything else. And that's not the way I want to live my life anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, it's this constant process of trying to find that balance of
Mm-hmm.
movement and food to stay in a place that I'm comfortable with myself.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's really beautiful what you're saying as well, because I think that, and I was saying that also in this episode, like an eating disorder is also, of course, a mental health problem, and it's very much in your head, but it's an imbalance, it's just, so what you're saying is beautiful, is like you're balancing it out. It's like, yeah, I'll go to the gym for 2 hours if I can still have my food, and it's, I think,
Right.
and it is, there's this, I think it's also, it sounds, listening to you, I feel like there wasn't an obsession, for me it was, I was obsessive with getting skinny, I was obsessive with, and what even, like, I mean, I would, like, break mirrors and just like this excessive hate for myself and my body, and that was also, of course, causing all this, these disorders, that just kind of become part of you in a way, and it's beautiful that you said the way you talk is really, it's inspiring, because I'm like, yeah, that's how it should be, like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just never got into that.
So
I don't
good.
know. And like I said, it would have been,
Yeah,
he's like, whatever,
we
mom, I'm
have
just
a
gonna
we have a pop in the background. He's
yeah,
like, yeah, guys, talk about
I'm just gonna sleep
food,
through
man,
it,
talk about
whatever.
food.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
the
like, with me, with like the whole drug thing, I'm like, I'm not, this drug stuff, it's too expensive. I'm like, I
yeah,
can't. I got bills to pay, like
yeah,
maybe if I would have had some, like, if I was a trust fund kid, maybe things would have been
yeah,
different with my life. But
yeah,
like,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, I work hard for my money. I am not
Not
spending
gonna spend it
money
on
on
that
that.
shit.
I can't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good. That's
Like,
so good. That's so good. Well, that's, I mean, it's really, and I hope lots of listeners also get inspired by this as well, because it is really important. And I think that, especially as a woman, but men as well, and anybody non-binary, trans, whatever you're going through, I think we all have. I think pretty much everybody I know has a difficult relationship with their body or their body image, even,
totally.
and we're all
Men,
struggling with
I
that.
think I think it's important that you brought the men thing on, because
Yeah.
like men, or I was listening to, I wish I could remember who posted it. I want to say it was like Veg News maybe that popped
Mm-hmm.
up yesterday. And it was this African American guy reading a poem about, men and mental health,
Mm-hmm.
basically, and how they're raised like, be a man, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly.
Like,
The
you
provider,
need
be
to be
strong.
strong, you
Yeah.
need to provide,
Mm-hmm.
you can't be sad and tired and depressed, like you need to fucking put your pants on, and you need to blah 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 blah, and this whole thing. And I'm like thinking to myself, and I'm just like, like I've kind of had that experience as a woman, like, my family dynamic was kind of like, put your pants on type of thing. Like even though I was a female,
Mm-hmm.
my mother was always like, get your shit together and handle it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, I'm not your bankroll or your, your nursemaid. So you need to like
Mm-hmm.
handle that. So I understand, not to the extent as like a man and that whole dynamic, but I understand a little bit of it, and it's exhausting.
Yeah.
Like you never really have, especially being a Black man, I'm assuming,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. The
And
pressure that society puts on you as well. Like, that's
yeah,
insane.
it's a lot, and it's
Mm-hmm.
got to be exhausting,
Yeah.
physically and emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's I'm sure it's a lot, and
Yeah.
it's not. It's 2021, and there's still so many things, emotionally, that are swept under the rug by
Mm-hmm.
everyone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In
Yeah.
in every community, we sweep everything under the rug, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it's great that people are starting to at least talk about things.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
giving their, peers a space to discuss things with each other and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
because it's hard.
Exactly. It's like, it's, I mean, I definitely feel it very much, like I see even men, especially sort of middle-aged men who also, you know, commit suicide because they feel that they can, you know, like